Two iconic American bombers faced off in World War II air battles, the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator. Although both were designed for the same purpose, their engineering philosophies were completely different. On the one hand, there was the indomitable power of survival. On the other hand, the ability to range and carry. This difference created their distinct combat identities. When analyzing the B-17's design, one clear priority first becomes apparent: survivability. Its semi-monocoque fuselage used densely placed aluminum rivets, strong spars, and multi-layered load paths. As a result, even if an enemy shell or shrapnel hit, the stress would be spread throughout the structure, not collapse in one place. The aircraft added self-sealing fuel tanks, multiple alternate fuel lines, and redundancy in key control systems. Even after serious damage, many B-17s were able to return to base, proving the name Flying Fortress to life. The B-24, on the other hand, took a completely different approach. At the heart of its design was the Davis wing, a revolutionary, long, thin, high aspect ratio wing that created less drag and enabled long-range flight. This wing design gave the B-24 the ability to fly longer distances on less fuel. The B-24's fuselage was relatively long and its bomb bay was enlarged to accommodate a larger payload. However, this efficiency came at the cost of structural flexibility. The thin wing and stressed skin construction made the aircraft more sensitive to load distribution. Here, the key engineering differences between the two aircraft became apparent. While the B-17 increased its damage tolerance through increased strength, thicker airfoils, and conservative construction techniques, the B-24 prioritized efficient aerodynamics and fuel efficiency. The differences were also clear in terms of wing design. The B-17's thick wing, with a span of about 103 feet, was able to withstand high G-loads and battlefield pressures. In contrast, the B-24's wing, with a span of about 110 feet, created less drag but was structurally more rigid and more susceptible to damage. This difference determined their different roles in the future. One aircraft became a reliable pillar of high-altitude formations, the other a tireless worker handling heavy tasks over long distances. The true capabilities of any bomber are determined by its engines and performance. Here again, the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator represent two different perspectives, one symbolizing reliability and high-altitude endurance, the other an example of speed and range. The B-17 was powered by four Wright R-1820 Cyclone radial engines. Each engine produced about 1/200 horsepower and delivered power smoothly through constant speed propellers. These engines were specially tuned for long-duration operation at high altitudes, where oxygen is scarce and temperatures are extremely low. This allowed the B-17 to achieve a service ceiling of over 35,000 feet. This altitude was beyond the effective range of many enemy fighters, providing an important tactical advantage in daylight bombing missions. Top speeds were estimated at 285–290 mph, but its real strength was its ability to fly in stable, controlled formations for long periods. The B-17 was also relatively conservative in terms of fuel consumption. Its engines used an average of about 0.49 pounds of fuel per horsepower hour, which ensured reliability on long missions but limited its range somewhat. On the other hand, the B-24 Liberator used four Pratt & Whitney R-1830 twin Wasp engines. While the horsepower on paper was about the same, its improved cowling design and the low drag characteristics of the Davis wing made its overall performance more efficient. This aerodynamic advantage allowed the B-24 to achieve a slightly higher top speed, about 290 mph, and a significantly longer range, over 2,100 miles. Fuel consumption was approximately 0.45 pounds per horsepower hour, making it ideal for long-range missions. However, the B-24 had one limitation. Its service ceiling was generally limited to around 28,000 feet. As a result, it was less able to maintain formations at high altitudes for long periods. This performance difference determined their roles on the battlefield. The B-17 could maintain tight formations and conduct sustained bombing runs at high altitudes, where engine endurance and stability were paramount. In contrast, the B-24 operated in a variety of theaters with fast cruise speeds, long ranges, and large payloads, especially for striking distant targets across the ocean. In short, the B-17's engine configuration was designed to withstand the stresses of combat, while the B-24's integrated aerodynamic design gave it the added speed and endurance it needed. These two different strengths were clearly reflected in their later tactical use. The key to a bomber's survival in World War II air combat was its defense system. This is where the differences between the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator most clearly come to the fore. The B-17's defense philosophy was built around the concept of a mobile fire fortress. It was equipped with up to 13 50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns, strategically placed in nose, dorsal, ball turret, west and tail positions. The main purpose of this arrangement was to create an overlapping arc of fire. This overlapping coverage exposed enemy fighters approaching from any direction to the combined fire of multiple guns. Each gun fired approximately 750 grain bullets at high muzzle velocity, and the continuous fire played an effective role in breaking up enemy attacks. When flying in tight formation, multiple B-17s combined to create an almost continuous defensive fire zone. This is why the B-17 formation was ideal for combat. Even if an aircraft was damaged, it would still be partially protected by fire from nearby aircraft. In the air, it effectively formed a moving defensive wall. The B-24 Liberator was a different story. It used the same 50 caliber M2 Browning guns, but the total number was usually around 10. They were spread out over the nose, dorsal, ventral, and tail stations. While this spread-out arrangement helped reduce weight and increase payload and range, it did not always ensure full 360-degree overlapping coverage. Certain angles created short-term blind spots that experienced enemy pilots would try to exploit. As a result, B-24 units had to adopt different tactics. They often relied on denser formations, higher speeds, and coordinated maneuvers to cover weak points in the defenses. Speed and the ability to change positions were more important than direct, powerful fire. The difference in the defensive philosophies of the two aircraft clearly defined their combat identities. While the B-17 sought to keep the enemy at bay by emphasizing deterrence, the B-24 sought to reduce risk through quick entry, quick exit tactics. As a result, the B-17 proved more effective in daylight bombing missions over high-risk European skies. The B-24's speed and flexibility gave it a distinct advantage over wide areas, long distances, and diverse missions. The B-17 was designed from the start with field serviceability in mind. Its semi-monocoque structure, with riveted skin panels and standardized spars, allowed for rapid repairs even near the battlefield. Damaged panels could be removed and replaced, often without the need to replace entire sections. Ground crews had easy access to the engine cowling, turret mounts, and control linkages. As a result, B-17 units could typically return to service after overhauling every 200-250 flight hours. According to wartime statistics, operational downtime in B-17 squadrons was significantly lower. The situation was more complicated for the B-24. Its Davis wing and stressed skin construction, while aerodynamically superior, required more care in maintenance. Small cracks or stress damage took time to diagnose, and repairs required specialized equipment and training. This specialized kit was not always available at many forward air bases, causing damaged B-24s to remain grounded for long periods. The lack of part standardization also strained the logistics chain. In fact, in many theaters, the average downtime of B-24 units was 15–20% longer than that of the B-17. War experience brought changes to both aircraft. The B-17G version added a forward chin turret, which effectively reduced the previous head-on attack vulnerability. It also added improved self-sealing, fuel tanks, and additional armor in critical control areas. Together, these changes increased the B-17's in-flight survivability by about 20%. The B-24's development focus was different. Its wing stiffening, improved bomb door design, and refined engine cowling helped increase the aircraft's reliability and range. Improvements to the cooling system have reduced engine failure rates and increased operational reliability by about 15% in some units.